Ramona Scarborough.
There ought to be a law against these, don't you think? But there isn't. However, in Louisiana, you are not allowed to tie your alligator to a parking meter. I'm really worried about the meter maids. Now, I want to see a show of hands. How many of you have had a neighbor with an incessantly barking dog? There is a law against this, especially after 10 o'clock at night. But is it enforced? No. But you know, you can be glad that you do not live in Florida. Okay? Because in Florida, it's against the law to allow your lion to roar in public. So this means that in people's backyards all over Florida, there are lions roaring. Now, I'm quite sure that all of you have a bank account. And you go to your bank, and there are people there. There's tellers, there's loan officers, and so on. However, let's say that you have a question, and you get on your telephone, and do those people answer? No. You start talking, and a very rude robot interrupts you. And he says, please enter your account number. Well, your account number is only 4, so I can remember that. But then he says, please enter your social security number. And I go, oh, let's see, is it 485 or 8? I just can't remember the whole thing. And so then he says to me, sorry, we didn't get that. Goodbye. So what I do is I make a whole list of all the stuff that they ask for. I write it down on a piece of paper, and I get back on the telephone, and I go through the whole thing. I tell them my account number, my social security number, my PIN number, my age, my height, my weight, how many kids I have. And then they have the nerve to say to me, for your convenience, we're going to offer you these 8 options. Press 1 if you want a loan. That isn't what I called about. Press 2 if you're behind on your loan payment. I don't even have a loan there. Press 3 if you want to know how many checks you bounced. I really don't want to know that information. So I listen to all 8 options, and none of them are what I want. And so I get in my car, I drive to the bank, and sure enough, there are people there. Now, I also think there ought to be a law against misleading grocery lines. You know, I go to the grocery store, and I'm in a big hurry. And I look, and there's 6 people in this line. There's 5 people in this line. Look, there's one. It's only got 2 people. So I rush forward with my shopping cart. But the first lady has quite a few groceries. But the clerk is very efficient, and she gets her through her groceries right away. But then, when she gives the lady the total, the lady goes, oh, I think I'm going to have to put something back. So she starts unloading her groceries, and she seems to have to give commentary with each thing. I could put back the beer. Oh, but Fred would be mad if I didn't come home with a beer. About maybe the cat food. I don't know. Or maybe, no, I can't do the soup either. You know, I hardly cook anymore. I just open a can of soup. Well, she goes through all of her groceries, setting them out on the counter, and she finally whittles it down to whatever amount she can pay, and she leaves. Well, the next lady doesn't have as many groceries, so I'm thinking, this is going to get over with fast. But she puts through all of the groceries, and then the lady tells her the total. And she gets out her black hole of a purse, and she opens it up, and she starts rummaging around in it, and she goes, "Oh, I don't seem to have my credit card." So she starts taking things out of her purse. She has this huge box of tissues, and she gets out. She shows the clerk, "Look at this. My grandson made me this little letter, and he even made a cute little picture on it." And then she takes out this, which might explain a whole lot. She looks and looks and looks, and she doesn't find her credit card, and then she says, maybe I left it in the car. So I look over at the other lines, and those people have purchased their groceries. They've left the store, and for all I know, they have driven all the way home. Now, talking about grocery stores, you guys can really be glad that you do not live in Connecticut. Because in Connecticut, you have to have your pickles suitable for consumption. They have to bounce. So this woman goes to the store, and she gets a jar of pickles, and she tries to open them. Excuse me. There ought to be a law against adult-proof lids, too. But anyway, she takes out a pickle. In the garbage. Now, sometimes when I go to the grocery store, I get one of these women's magazines, and they've got these quizzes in them, and I think I'm getting along pretty good with my husband, but after I took the quiz, I'm not so sure. Now, I'm a great fan of gravity. I don't want to be bouncing around in the universe like these Connecticut pickles. However, I think there ought to be a law about what gravity does to women's bodies as they age. Now, I will never forget one quiz that I took in a women's magazine. It had to do with breasts. Now, there was a scale, and on the high end was very perky. On the low end was sandbags. Well, how you figured out where you were on this scale was you took pencils and you put them underneath your breasts, and depending on how many pencils you could hold up, that's where you were on the scale. Well, I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, well, you're not doing that bad for your age. So I tried it. And I could have supplied a whole kindergarten class with pencils. Now, I'm not satisfied with my hair either. You know, I went to my beauty salon and I said to my beautician, now, I want my hair to look just like this. And she said, well, I'll try. So you know how it is when you go to the beauty parlor and you've known your beautician for a long time, you start gossiping. So I had to tell her about what my husband did. My husband cut off the gizmo that makes it so my oven cleans itself. And I asked him, why did you do this? And he said, it was in the way. So anyway, I'm talking to my beautician and not really paying attention to what she's doing, and then she turns me around in the mirror and my hair looks like this. You know, there are some laws that are really good. We're so glad that they're in place. Oh, forgot this one. After what my husband did, I'm glad I don't live in Kentucky, because there a woman can only marry 3 times. Hope the 3rd time is a charm. Evidently, men can marry as often as they like. You know, women have come a long way, haven't they? But it's still a man's world. This is proof. In Vermont, it is illegal for a woman to wear false teeth without her husband's consent. So if you go to Vermont, probably there's some women there going to say, hi, I'm Sue from Burlington. But as I said, there are some laws that are really for our benefit. For example, in Montana, it is illegal to give a rat as a present. Can you imagine opening the box? Now also, there are a lot of traffic laws that are for our benefit, and we're glad they're there. Especially here. In Alabama, it is illegal to drive blindfolded. I know you think I'm making all this stuff up, but these are real laws. So evidently in Alabama, somebody drove blindfolded, probably a man. Now in some states, they even have traffic laws for horses. In Indiana, it's illegal to ride a horse over 10 miles an hour. I think this lady is exceeding the speed limit. Now I'm wondering, do they have speedometers for horses there? Do they have these signs that say 10 miles and then a picture of a horse? I really don't know. I have no idea. Now, signs are a type of law. And I'm sure you've all seen this sign, no skateboarding. But if you read the fine print on the bottom, it says, don't you dare skateboard here, or we will pull your pants down all the way. Now, when I worked as a marketing manager for a large hotel chain, we would go to assisted living and we would offer them a discount for if they were visiting somebody at the assisted living. And in every parking lot, there was this sign. Will you please explain this to me? I'm hoping that the grandmas and grandpas were out in the parking lot at night skateboarding. Now, I want you all to be thinking about what really bothers you. What is your pet peeve that there ought to be a law against? Because later I'm going to ask you that question, okay? So keep that in mind. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you what really bothers me. The very first time that I was at a Toastmasters humorous speech contest, without my knowledge or permission, a button right in the middle of my blouse popped open. So I get up in front and I'm gesturing wildly and I'm doing all this enthusiastic talking. And people were laughing, but I'm not sure about what. I will have to say I did win that contest. Now, you probably think it couldn't get much worse, but it does. I also worked for a very large insurance company. And the very first time that I went out to give a presentation, I was a little nervous. So I looked in my closet and I thought, oh, I could wear this suit. It's really chic looking. That will give me a lot of confidence. Well, I put on my underwear, I put on my nylons, I put on my slip, and then I put on the skirt, and then I looked, and my slip was sticking out. Well, I thought, nah, there's a lining in this, I'm fine. So I went to the appointment, and there were 27 people there from the company, and I sat down, and I started inputting all of their information into my computer. Well, then I said to the group, this is my first insurance presentation, so please bear with me. I didn't know that was a prophecy. Well, my presentation was practically flawless because I'd gone over it so many times. But then when I got done, I said, now, are there any questions? And a guy right in the middle said, well, I have my packet here, but I don't see the dental portion. And I said, oh, don't worry, I've got plenty out in my car. I jumped up, my skirt fell off. And then that same guy said, don't worry about your presentation, that's the best one we've had yet. I made the mistake of telling my boss about this incident, and he told every single new person that came into the company, if you want to know how to sell a lot of insurance, just ask Ramona. Now, I'm sure you think that, well, that's about the worst. Janet Jackson has nothing on me. My husband and I went away for a romantic vacation at the beach, and they had this huge hot tub, and I love hot tubs. So anyway, we get into the hot tub, and nobody's there. Now stop laughing. I had on my little old pink swimsuit, and then 3 other couples from Portland joined us in the hot tub, and they were very friendly, and we started conversing with them. But I've been in that hot water for quite a while, and I was starting to feel kind of woozy. So anyway, I hoisted myself up on the side, and the people that were in the hot tub's eyes got just huge. And my husband turned around to see what had happened, and his eyes said, "Get out of here!" So I jumped up, I ran past the no running sign, I went into the women's bathroom, and I stood in front of the mirror, and my swimming suit had turned completely see-through. It was like a wet t-shirt contest times 10. The next morning, we went out to breakfast at a restaurant. I bet you can't guess who was there. They stayed completely away from us. They did not even look at us. Okay, so you had time to think. I want to hear from you. What is it that bothers you? What thing that you'd like to get rid of?
inconsiderate people at the grocery store who talk on their phone and block the aisle when I'm trying to get by.
Oh, yes, I hate that too. Yeah. Anybody else? Come on, I know you've got something that bothers you.
I don't want anyone to disagree with me. The toilet paper goes from the back up to the top. How can you possibly put that diamond on there if it doesn't come from the top?
This woman just wants to start a riot, don't you think? Anybody else? Come on, somebody. Anybody else got a problem that, yes? Oh, I hate that too. In fact, I might put that in my next speech. Well, you know what? I bet you anything, if I went around individually to each one of you, that you could tell me something that bothers you. But there isn't a law against it. I guarantee it. And you have been a great audience.
Thank you very much. One more hand. What a nice way to start our day. So our first